Hello and welcome to Think Watercolour. Today I'm going to demonstrate how I painted this quick study sketch of a winter scene with a snow-covered fallen tree by a lake. I've loosely sketched the composition and added some masking fluid along the tree trunk so that I can retain the white of the snow. So without further ado, let's get started. Here I'm just using clean water to wet the sky area. Without soaking the paper too much. Just want it damp enough for the washes I'm going to apply to blend together. This is cerulean blue and a touch of cobalt blue for the blue part of the sky. Just dropping it in wet to this damp paper. Just feathering out to the right for some lighter sort of grey clouds. It's a winter sky, so it's going to be cold and a little bit grey. This is just added a little bit of burnt sienna to that mix just to create this bluey grey for these darker clouds on the left. Just added a touch of sepia and some ultramarine for the slightly darker shadows on these clouds. Very soft, wet in wet technique. This just to create the impression of wintry sky against slightly pale blue sky. I'm just going to darken the blue a little bit. It's a bit on the light side. Just blending them gently together. Bit of damp brush work there, clean water just to soften the edges. Same at the base of the clouds where they're just touching the distant hills. Just adding a little bit more ultramarine and sienna to the mix just to darken some of the shadows in these clouds. Again, wet in wet, let them blend together, no hard edges. And using the same mix for the reflection in the lake. Just trying to replicate what's in the sky as closely as possible. Again, using the same mix for shadows in the foreground snow and under the fallen tree. This will be much darker later on as I add some of the undergrowth there, but just putting shadow in for the time being. Softening the edges, no hard edges in the snow here, just soft shadows on the fallen snow on the ground. This is a mix of sepia and burnt sienna just to indicate the fallen tree. Again, I've got masking fluid there just to keep the white of the snow. So hopefully once I remove the masking fluid you'll see the tree more clearly. But for the moment I'm just indicating where the tree is and these saplings on the right with this lighter mix. This is a piece of Bockingford 300 gram cold pressed white paper. It's a little bit smoother than I would normally use. I tend to stick to a rougher paper these days, but I had this piece handy in the drawer, so just thought I'd use it for this sketch. Quite often do sketches like this in preparation for larger pieces. Just using a little bit of jadeite green with some burnt sienna for the background hills. This is just pure sepia for darkening the area underneath the fallen tree, putting in some of the bushes and bracken that's there. Just with the tip of the brush indicating a few branches and twigs sticking up. Just added some burnt sienna to the mix for these distant trees on the far side of the lake, on the far shore of the lake, on both sides of the lake. They're just feathering them down for the reflection. Just trying to replicate what's above as closely as possible, but without being too pedantic about it. The eye will do the rest. I'm going to darken the base of this tree line in a while, just to pull it forward. Just indicating it there with a touch of blue, just to show you where it is. Just darkening those distant hills a little bit. They were a bit too pale. Again, just using the side of the brush, damp brush, just to feather that reflection. Just added a touch of jadeite green to the mix, just to indicate these trees on the far side of the lake a little bit in a stronger shade. Again, making sure that the reflection is pulled down into the lake area. I've removed the masking fluid now, and just using pure sepia to indicate the actual tree trunk and its branches. Just retaining the white of the snow where it's lying on the tree trunk. Once you start putting these darks in, it brings the whole painting together and adds depth and structure to it. Just using a number 3 rigger here, just to loosely indicate some of the undergrowth where the tree's fallen, strengthening the shadow beneath it as well. Just using the rigger, holding it high up the shaft so that I can use the springiness of the actual brush and hairs to create this very loose indication of saplings and undergrowth. Just adding a little bit of bluish shadow on the snow that's lying on the fallen tree. Just helps to create that illusion of 3 dimensions. I'll switch to a number 0 rigger now, just for the thinner saplings and branches and twigs on this right hand side. Keeping it very loose. Again, using the side of the rigger just to indicate branches and leaves and twigs at the top of these saplings. It's just to create the impression of what's there, rather than trying to paint every single little leaf and branch and twig. Just adding a little bit of warmer colour here, just to have a bit of variety. Also adds to the composition. Same for the undergrowth around the tree. Just using the side of the rigger just to pick up a little bit of the tooth of the paper. Making sure I don't paint over too much of the snow that's lying on the branches and the tree trunk. Just using some sepia mixed with some ultramarine just to get that nice strong dark for the just adding a little bit more detail to the trunk of the tree, adding a little bit of more blue shadow in the snow. Just adds to that feeling of depth. Again with the number 0 rigger, just indicating a few more branches and twigs at the top of those saplings. Just strengthening the base of the tree line, the other side of the lake on the shore, making sure that the reflection in the water is there too. A few more bits in the foreground, a few details, and I think we're pretty much done. Thank you so much for watching this demonstration. I hope you found it useful. As I said, I normally do these sketches just to test out that the composition and the colours that I'm using and make sure they all work together. If you like this video, please give it a like. It always helps with YouTube. Do subscribe and hit the notification bell for future videos. And thanks again for watching.